Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of The Message. I'm your host, the Knowledge King. We'll spend this next hour with mine. That one purpose is delivering the message that God is Almighty. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be, is a piece of God. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be, was made by God. Everything that ever happened is happening right now, or ever will happen, was made to happen by God. God is the master plan for all time and all creation. God is Almighty. The message is brought to you by, is produced by the Society of Knowledge. The Society is an interdenominational ministry. Our members come from various different religious and spiritual backgrounds. We have various different religious and spiritual beliefs. Although we come from different backgrounds and have different beliefs, there's one belief that we share. There's one piece of knowledge that we hold in common. And that's the knowledge that there is a being. By no matter what name we may have been taught to call that being, by no matter what name we may have come to know that being, whether that name be God, Allah, Yahweh, Jesus, Jehovah, Buddha, nature, by no matter what name, we know that there is a being possessed not some of the power, not most of the power, but all of the power. We know that there is indeed an almighty being. That's the reason we do the show, and the only reason we do this show. And that's to deliver a message that that being that personally I call God, that being is indeed almighty. Uh, we have a packed show tonight, and just go to show you, I'm never, it never ceases to amaze me when I look at what God is doing and how God is doing things. Uh, Preparing for tonight's show, initially when I started preparing for tonight's show, I had a plan. I had an idea of how things would go, what would be covered, the topics that would be covered. And as the preparations progressed, those it changed. And without talking a whole lot about it, the focus on the show tonight, as always, the focus is delivering the message that God is Almighty. Now, that message is, we know that message can be delivered in all different kind of ways, different languages, even sign language. It can be written, it could be verbal, all different types of ways. But tonight, we're going to deliver that message encapsulated, wrapped up in a discussion about prostitution. Now, I know some of you may be saying, Brother King, what does prostitution have to do with God being Almighty? Brother King, there's nothing about God relating to prostitution. Well, I beg to differ. Okay? I don't agree with you. I think that prostitution has a whole lot to do with God being Almighty. And as we progress tonight, you will find out a little bit about why I feel that way. So without me doing a whole lot more talking, let's get into our program. All right. We see here on the screen, and we've already said that today is May the 19th. All right. And we'll have our announcements, then our testimonies, then our religious spiritual study. And we're reminded in First Book of Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 21, to prove all things, hold fast that which is good. And as I said earlier, our discussion topic tonight is prostitution. A prostitution. And there you see on your screen, it's a photo depicting a prostitution. And as you see on the in the picture there, there's a prostitute, or what's supposed to be a prostitute, leaning, uh, talking to somebody through a car window, and you see a lot of that. Uh, if you go in areas where there are prostitutes, and there's another prostitute in the background with a little short skirt on and her hands on her hips, and this looks like it doesn't have anything at all to do with the message that God is Almighty. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's find out our words of inspiration. And I said earlier that as I prepare for tonight's show, uh, things change. And instead of reading out of the book of Exodus tonight, we're going to get our words of inspiration from our discussion about prostitutes. Okay? That's where our inspiration is going to come from tonight. Hopefully, we'll get some inspiration out of speaking about prostitutes and talking about prostitutes and prostitution. You see on your screen right now, that's our main website, www.godisalmighty.org. I invite you, I encourage you to lock that website into the web browser. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can visit that website and see previously recorded episodes of the message. You can also go to all of our social media platforms. We have a blog page, a Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I'm putting out a call right now. All of you, and I know all of you that are watching my Facebook know something about the social media because that's how you're watching the show right now. Some of you may be watching a rebroadcast of the show because we do air the show on television. But for those of you that are watching my Facebook, you know a little something about social media. I'm encouraging you and asking you that you get in touch with me. Okay, get in touch with me. Go to our main website, and that's godisalmighty.org, and you'll see my email address. Or you can post me a message, send me a direct message through Facebook. And what I'm asking for is I'm asking for some assistance. I'm asking for some help. We want to, I get on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. I get on that to see these folks that have thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers and friends. And we want to do the same thing for the message. Okay? The same way that folks are getting their message out about different things. We want to get the message out, and the message being that God is Almighty. So if you have some ideas, you have some expertise, or if you just, like doing that, helping things to go viral, get in touch with me. Okay? Help the message go viral. Help us get the message out there to thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And I so pleased that it's not through social media, but we have another form of communication that we're using, that we're getting the message out to more than 500,000 people, or should I say impressions, per week, more than 500,000. Okay, a shout out to the Lafayette, Louisiana Center of the Society of Knowledge. Yes, we do have centers in New Orleans, Lafayette, and that's presided over by Ryan King. We have an Opelousas Center that's presided over by Messenger Corey Levy. The Central Florida Center presided over by Messenger Tena L. As always, I'm encouraging you to get your COVID-19 vaccinations. And if you've had your vaccinations, get your booster. Imani Temple number 49 of the African American Catholic Congregation, presided over by Bishop Milton, that's located in Lafayette, Louisiana. Imani Temple number 28, that's presided over by Bishop Meade. He's the pastor, and that's located at 2411 Treasure Street here in the city of New Orleans. I do have a little bit more information. Uh, and this is an announcement that I didn't have a chance to put it up on the board, but I'll get to that one in a minute. You see on the screen, and I said earlier that previously recorded episodes of The Message can be watched on television, right? On Cox Cable Orleans, channel 76, and that's on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can go to our YouTube channel and watch previously recorded episodes of The Message. Earlier, I said that so proud, so happy, and so thankful that we are getting the message out to hundreds of thousands of folks every week. And it's not through TV, it's not through social media, but through the old-fashioned billboard. And see on the screen, that's a photograph of our billboard. Billboard is located at the intersections of the I-10 and I-6 here in the city of New Orleans, and they intersect right there at Franklin Avenue. And I had one of the members of the society this past week said, "Man, is that your billboard?" I said, "No, that's our billboard." He said, "Oh, I saw it, and it looks great and getting the message out there." So it's good that people are seeing the billboard, that they are receiving the message. And during the discussion that we were having, me and one of our members, the discussion was that he was saying that how visible it is, especially in the evenings, and reflecting upon that, maybe someone that's traveling along the highway, traveling along the interstate, that might be dealing with, that just might happen to be dealing with something at a particular moment, whether it's some problem dealing with health or finances or relationship problems, and just dealing with that as they pass by this billboard. And at the same moment, grappling with the issue, they happen to see the billboard with the message that God is Almighty. And that message, hopefully, prayerfully, inspires them. Hopefully, prayerfully, takes some of the load off of them and lets them know that God is in control, that you don't have to fight that you don't have to give up hope. You don't have to fall into depression, despair. You're not alone, no matter what kind of problem that you're fighting, no matter what kind of issue you're dealing with. God can make a way. God can make a way because God is indeed Almighty. All right, and this is all right. That last board. Well, I'm going to pass. Let's go back to it. Okay, and that screen up there. Last Saturday, we had the home going services for one of my friends. That's Apostle Jose Wadi Asa Mirabal. And the apostle, it was great seeing a number of families that attended the homegoing services, and there are a number of friends that used to be a part of the television studio where the apostle broadcast his show, the same place where we broadcast the message. Got up and spoke. Our prayers are going out to the apostle's widow, Sister Judy, and we're praying for the sister, praying for God Almighty to give her strength as she goes through this transition of her own, having lost her husband. So again, that was last Saturday, the services for Apostle Jose Mirabal. Yeah, religious spiritual study, prove all things, hold fast, that was good. Coming out of First Book Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 21. And our discussion tonight, prostitution. Okay? Prostitution, that's the discussion tonight. Now, I said that as I prepared for the show, things changed. And some of you may be saying, well, Brother King, how do you come up with this idea about a discussion topic of prostitution for this type of show, for the message, for a show that's supposed to be talking about God being, talking about prostitution. What's up with that, Brother King? Well, it was my intent. Well, first of all, let me start off by the idea, the genesis of the idea, the beginning of the idea, because of something that was in the news here in the New Orleans area a couple of weeks ago, and it's kind of faded in the background. But there was some video floating around the internet about prostitutes here in the city. And for those of you that are familiar with New Orleans, you know that there are certain areas of the city that are known prostitution. The French Quarter being one of, and another being an area that's called Chef Highway. And, and there was a video that was floating around, and it showed a young lady who was dressed like a prostitute walking down Chef Highway. And as you saw the picture a minute ago that we had, how prostitutes dress. Well, this young lady was dressed in something that looked like a bathing suit, actually, walking up and down Chef Highway. And that's how they do. Short dresses on, real scantily clad. And she's walking down Chef Highway, and somebody riding along in the car, sir, with paintballs. And you see the paintballs hitting the young lady, and you see him hitting her on the thighs, because the thighs were all out. Everything was all out. Let's say she had on something that looked like a bathing suit. And the guys that were in the car were making comments, derogatory comments about her. Making derogatory comments about her. Now, I don't know the young lady's background. I don't know the young lady. This is just something that I saw on the internet. And the reason I saw it is because on the radio one day, actually for a few days on the radio, on the talk shows, they were talking about it and talking about this video. And that right there is just preparing for the show and coming up with a topic for tonight's show. That crossed my mind as far as prostitution. And the thing that hit me was the Bible speaks about prostitution. And there are prostitutes talked about in the Bible. Now, there are a number of laws, and you read, if you just type that in the Google, okay, prostitutes in the Bible, prostitution in the Bible. And you see all different types of admonitions, all types of warnings, all types of condemnations about prostitutes and prostitution, particularly in the Old Testament. And one of the words that the Old Testament uses, and if we can get in the background, we have a little noise in the background. We're gonna try to get that corrected. We're going to try to get that corrected in the background, that something that's in the background there. But let's see, just 1 minute. Let me see 1 minute if I can. Well, when you're doing live shows, things happen. So hopefully we have that corrected. Hopefully we have that corrected. But anyway, getting back, and I kind of lost my train of thought with that distraction. But saying in the Bible, you'll see different admonitions about prostitutes and prostitution, particularly in the Old Testament. Not as much in the New Testament. Matter of fact, New Testament, there are some scriptures that some folks have interpreted as Jesus Christ actually befriending prostitutes. And the lady that washed Jesus' feet with her hair and anointed him with oil. Some people that interpret that scripture, that lady, as being a prostitute. There are some folks in the church that have taken a position that Mary Magdalene, who is very prominent in the Bible, that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. And I was developing the show for tonight. It was indeed my intention to read some scriptures relating to Mary Magdalene, relating to the lady that washed Jesus' feet, and to discuss those scriptures. But as I said, the Lord and the Spirit moved me in a different way. And the way that God moved me was to discuss one particular prostitute that's mentioned and discussed in the scriptures. So let's get into it. And all right, let's see. All right. Let's start out with a definition. This is one definition of prostitution. Prostitution, the practice of engaging in relatively indiscriminate sexual activity, in general with someone who is not a spouse or a friend, in exchange for immediate payment in money or other valuables. Okay, so now we just have a framework, a framework of prostitution. And the prostitute that's discussed in the Bible that I want to talk about tonight, that prostitute, her name is Rahab. Very, very famous prostitute. Right? And this is coming out of the book of Joshua, starting in chapter 2, verses 1 through 14. And then chapter 6, verses 21 through 25. All right. We're talking about a prostitute. Now look, let's get right into it. And Joshua, the son of Nun, sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, "Go view the land, even Jericho." And they went and came into a harlot's house named Rahab and lodged there. Now, I told you earlier, okay, in the Bible, they use this term, harlot. That's the same thing as prostitute. Now, I'm going real slow because there's a whole lot of understanding that we're going to try to share tonight. Now, in this first verse, it talks about Joshua. Okay? Now, Joshua, the son of Nun. Now, for those of you that do not know who Joshua was the fellow that Moses said that, look, I'm not going to make it to the promised land. When Moses led the Hebrews out of Egypt, they wandered around for 40 years, and Moses did not cross over the River Jordan. He left that job to lead the Hebrew people. He left that job to Joshua. Now, let me tell you what, let me come down off of this so that we can communicate directly. Right? Let's get, I'm gonna just pick up something here and going back to the book of Exodus, just so we can try to get a little bit more understanding here. All right. Exodus, let's go chapter 40. We go in 40. Go in chapter 40. And actually, when we go through Exodus and in the Leviticus, and let's go see if we can go straight into the book of Joshua, where we're reading right now. Okay. Joshua, and we said start in verse 2, but let's start in start in chapter 1. Okay. So now, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. Okay. So now Moses is dead. Okay. So Moses is dead. And now the Lord has spoken to Joshua, saying, Joshua, Moses is gone, but I have promised this land on the other side of the river Jordan. I've promised that to the Hebrew people. Now, Moses was not able to complete the task. See, it was Moses' job, Joshua, to bring them to the banks of the river Jordan. But it's your job, Joshua. It's your job to finish the task. It's your job to bring them across the river Jordan. Now, Joshua, I done promised them this. See, this is a blessing, Joshua, that I have for them. This is a blessing. I have all this land over there on the other side of the river Jordan. That's a blessing that I have prepared for the Israelites, for the Hebrew people. See, now the understanding that I'm trying to share with you is that the same way that God had this blessing prepared for the Hebrew people, God may have a blessing prepared for you. Understand what I'm saying? The same way God had this blessing prepared for the Hebrew, God may have a blessing prepared for you. Now look what happened here. Let's read through it. Because old Joshua here, Joshua, his job, his assignment, because it said the Lord spoke directly to him. His assignment is to bring them over there. God didn't say nothing about any difficulty. He said, look, bring them folks across the river. All right. But look, see, Joshua, and this goes to show you about faith, Faith. See, Joshua was afraid. Look what I'm talking about. Joshua was afraid to go ahead and do what God told him to do. You see that? See, Joshua, when God said, go ahead and bring them people across that river, Joshua didn't say, all right, God, come on, all y'all Hebrews, come on, let's go across that river. No, he said, go view the land. He sent spies there, sent them secretly. So now he has some trepidation. He has some fear about claiming the blessing that God has given him and the Hebrew people. Now, this piece right here, so it's a whole lot of stuff going on in this one verse. See that? So now it's showing us that God can have something planned for you, can have a blessing waiting for you, but you can be afraid. Come on now. You can be afraid to claim your blessing. And look what's going on here. You see we say God has a master plan for all time and all creation. Look how God had this planned out. Look at it. And they went and came into a harlot's house named Rahab and lodged there. Came into the house of a what? A prostitute. A prostitute. So these are some spies. Come on, get some understanding. This prostitute is living in this city called Jericho. And here are some spies from a whole different people. I ain't gonna say race people, but from a whole different people, the Hebrews. Those spies are coming and snuck into Rahab's house. And they didn't sneak, they went there and they're living there. They're lodged there. So see how God worked this out? When nowadays we talk about prostitutes, and the thing that we talk about, well, let's go shoot some paintballs at them. Let's call them some names. Let's run them out of town. All right? But here it is. Look what's it. The way God had it planned. God had a plan that these spies went into a prostitute's house and lodged there. Now, come on, it gets even more interesting. And it was told the king of Jericho, saying, behold, there came men in hither tonight of the children of Israel to search out the country. See, look at it. The king, the word that got back to the king. Remember, the folks that lived in Jericho, that's some different people. Okay? And king of Jericho found out about it, that these spies, they said, to search out the country. And the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying, bring forth the men that are come to thee, which are entered into thine house, for they be come to search out all the country. All right? So here the king saying, look, prostitute, you have some spies in your house. I got the word, got the news. You got those spies in your house. Now turn them over. Now understand something. You see that? Let me take this back because I need to talk to you. All right? I need to talk to you. Get some understanding on this. Here it is, a prostitute. All right? A prostitute that the king has gotten word that there are spies in the prostitute's house. Now, from the gate, you got to get some understanding now. From the gate, this prostitute knows that She's not some big important person in the kingdom. No, she's a prostitute. Okay? She's a prostitute. She's not a princess or nothing else like that. She's a prostitute. All right. This is where she's living. This is her house. This is her neighborhood. These are all our friends. This is her king. Is coming to say you got to give them up, turn them in, snitch on them, let them have them. These are spies. They're coming to try to hurt us. Now, it would have been natural. It would have been expected for the prostitute to say, oh, yeah, king, here they are, take them. They don't mean nothing to me. That's a whole different group of people. They're from them Israelites. They're not from around here. Yeah, come on, give them up. So that's what you would expect. See, when the king come knock on your door and say, give them up, you would expect for Rahab, the prostitute, to give them up. You see some inspiration. See, I'm talking about some inspiration. So now let's read and see. Did Rahab give up the two spies? All right. Did she or didn't she? Let's read it. And the woman took the two men and hid them. Now, ain't this something? So the prostitute hid the spies and said thus, there came men unto me, but I was not whence they were. All right, so let's put that in some regular English. Yeah, two men came, but I don't know who they were or where they went. And look what she said. It came to pass about the time of the shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. Whither the men went, I wot not. Pursue after them quickly, for ye shall overtake them. Now, see what I'm talking about? Look, it's bad enough that she done let them spies in her house. But in verse 4, it's saying, look, I don't know where they went. I don't know. Yeah, they were here, but I don't know where they went. Because look what it says, verse 5 says, about the time of the shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. She's saying, look, in that city of Jericho, understand what I'm telling you right now, so you get some understanding. That city was a walled city. They had a wall all around the city. And at a certain time of the night, they will close the gates so that you couldn't get in or couldn't get out. And here, Rahab, the prostitute, is telling the king, look, king, yeah, they were here. I saw them. I'm not denying I saw them. But them rascals left when it got dark. They left, and I don't know where they went. But if you leave and chase after them now and leave quickly, you might be able to catch them. See that? Now she's lying. She's putting her own life on the line. She's lying because in verse 4 it said that she hid them. And now in verse 5, she's lying to the king and telling the king that they're gone. But look, even more importantly than just telling they're gone, saying, if you leave right now and quit looking around here and leave right now, you might be able to catch them. Okay? Now, that's important. Now, why would this prostitute do this? Now, it's getting back to what I was talking about with the paintball earlier. Here, this prostitute, she is putting her life on the line, putting her life in jeopardy for these spies. And She's a prostitute. Now, see, the scripture ain't said nothing about the spies gave her some money to lie. The scripture said nothing about the spies gave her money to hide them. Doesn't say anything about that. And she's a prostitute, so a prostitute, she's all about money. She sell her body for money. So now she's doing this. She's jeopardizing herself for free. Come on, get some understanding. The understanding I'm getting out of it is that even though she's a prostitute, there's motivation that's driving her. Even though that lady that was out there on Chef Highway getting shot up with them paintballs, even though she may be a prostitute, there may be other motivation that will drive her to do other things. All right, we say can't judge a book by its cover. But she had, look what it said, but she had brought them up to the roof of the house and hid them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof. You see, I talk about how God got a master plan for all time in all creation. Now, something that we learn here, number one, God then put this prostitute in the frame of mind and gave her the understanding not to turn over these two spies. That's number one. Number two, well, number one is God brought them spies to her house. See that? See, God could have brought them to anybody's. They could have went to anybody's house. They could have went to somebody's house that would have turned them in. I want to thank my wife for joining us on Facebook. And I ask you, please hit that like button, hit that share button, start a watch party. Because we're talking about this prostitute here, Rahab. And we can see that even though she was a prostitute, God had a plan for her. God had a role for her to play. And God had things laid out. Now look what verse 6 said. She brought them up to the roof of the house and hit them with the stalks of flax. So look, everything was in place. You see that? Everything was in place. See, it just so happened. It just so happened. You know, I don't believe in just coincidences and things just so happened. God had planned out and laid out that sometime before, whether it was a week before, 2 weeks before, but at some point in the past, God had these people to go out and chop down the flax and stalks of flax. And these stalks of flax was laid on the roof and usually taken, laid it out there for it to dry out. Okay. So now you have these stalks of flax, and those stalks of flax could be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet tall. So you have these stalks of flax, just like stalks of wheat, tall grass, stalks of flax laid out on the roof. And they are so long that these spies were able to crawl underneath there and hide. You see that? It just so happened that those stalks of flax was up there. See that? See, God just so happened to have those stalks of flax up on that roof. You see that? So when it's time, understand something. Look, let me understand something. See, the same way God just so happened to have them stalks of flax up there, God can just so happen to have some stalks of flax in your life when you need it. You see, it might be some point in time where you have to hide. You might have to take cover. And I'm not talking about hide and take cover from the police or something like that. But there may be some adversary that you have. And that adversary could be a bill collector. Oh, I understand what I'm talking about. That adversary could be pain. Maybe it's some terrible headaches. Maybe it's some back pain, some leg pain, some pain. And God can place some stalks of flax in your life. See, God could put a stalk of flax in the form of a medication. God could put some stalks of flax in the form of therapy. God can put some flax in your life in the form of a kind word. Something that'll give you some respite, give you a break, give you some peace in your life, that shield you from your problems. You see, I say it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a coincidence that those stalks of flax were up there on that rooftop. I say it wasn't a coincidence that the spies went to Rahab's house. I say that it was all part of God's master plan. And the men pursued after them the way to Jordan unto the fords. And as soon as they which pursued after them were gone out, they shut the gate. So now we see that the prostitute's plan has worked, that the folks that were chasing the spies have left the city. Gates have been shut. And these folks that are searching for the spies, the king's men that are searching for the spies, have gone out, ran down to the Jordan. And before they were laid down, she came up unto them upon the roof. Now we are getting into something right now. Brother Link, thank you for joining us, Brother Link. And Brother Link, I know you know that God can make a way in your life when you need some flax. God can bring it. When you need some respite, God can bring it. When you need some shelter from the storm, God can bring it. And she said unto the men, I know that the Lord had given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. Look, see them spies. See, that's why Joshua set the spies up. Joshua was afraid. Joshua didn't know what he was going to run into on the other side of Jordan. Joshua, I said it earlier, Joshua was afraid to go claim his blessing. Now all the while Joshua is afraid to go claim his blessing. His blessing is sitting right there waiting for him. Look what Rahab said. Rahab said that the terror is falling upon us. Rahab saying, look, all of us in Jericho, we are afraid of you. We are afraid of you. We are so afraid that we faint when we just think about you. You see, all the while Joshua is afraid of what he's going to run into in Jericho, and here the people in Jericho, they're trembling, worrying about them Israelites, worrying about them Hebrews coming together. Your blessing waiting for you. And you too afraid. Go claim your blessing. For we have heard, look at Rahab. See, Rahab got some understanding. And Rahab is laying it out. Rahab said, for we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you. See, God is almighty. See, before you got here, spies, we heard about your God. dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when he came out of Egypt, and what ye did unto the two kings of the Amorites that were on the other side of Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom ye utterly destroyed. You see, look at that blessing is waiting for you. And as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts didn't melt. We just melted. We so afraid of you. Neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, read this now, read this. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and in earth beneath. You see that? That's why. See, come on now. Let me talk to you for a minute. See, earlier, say, well, look, Rahab is a prostitute. She ain't gonna just do something for nothing. Why is she hiding these spies? Why is she helping them to get away? Why is she doing all this? The scripture ain't saying about her being paid. She's doing it because she knows, come on now, she knows what? She knows the Lord God of the Hebrew people. That's why she's doing it. See, she's saying, look, all of us here in Jericho, we done heard about your God, the Lord of what? Heaven, what? And earth. And we don't want to mess with y'all because we don't want no parts. We heard what your God did to the Egyptians, and we don't want to have no part in that. You understand? Now, come on now, real good somebody say, look, a prostitute. See, this wasn't no school teacher. This wasn't no rabbi in the synagogue. This wasn't no great worldly, scholarly person. This was a prostitute. But this is a prostitute that had enough understanding to know what. This was a prostitute that had enough understanding to know that God is what? Almighty. A prostitute that had enough sense to know that, look, I'm going to hide these spies. I'm going to hide these spies because I know how powerful the God of Israel is. Brother Grease, thank you for joining us, Brother Grease. And Brother Grease, you know that God can do all things. And just like this prostitute had enough sense and had enough knowledge. See, it don't say nothing about she went to college. It doesn't say she had any degrees. It says that she was what? She was a harlot. She was a prostitute. A prostitute that had enough knowledge, enough sense. Recognize. See, Grease, you understand what I'm talking about. To recognize. Sometimes you can just recognize things. You got to read in the book. You can just recognize things. And that's what she did. She recognized who these spies were. She recognized the God of the Israelites. And man, I was falling behind. Let me move on. Run. Gotta run. Talking about that. And as soon as we heard these, our hearts would melt. All right. So folks in Jericho afraid of the Israelites right now. He is God in heaven above and in earth below. All right. Now, therefore, I pray you, swear unto me by the Lord, since I have showed you kindness, that ye will also show kindness unto my father's house and give me a true token. Look at that. See, this prostitute, she's not looking out just for herself. She's looking out for what? Her and her father's house. And that ye will save alive my father and my mother and my brethren and my sisters and all that they have, and deliver our lives from death. And the men answered her, our life for yours, if ye utter not this our business. And it shall be, when the Lord hath given us the land, that we will deal kindly and truly with thee. I could spend an hour on that, but let's go on. Joshua, chapter 6, verse 21, 25. And they utterly, now this is, after the spies went back and told Joshua that that blessing was waiting, all they had to do come there and take it. Look, they crossed over Jordan. And then when they cross over, y'all, look what it said. And this the Israelites now, this is what they're doing to the folks there in Jericho. And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, and ox, and sheep, and ass, with the edge of the sword. But Joshua had said unto the two men that had spied out the country, go into the harlot's house, go to the prostitute's house, and bring out thence the woman, and all that she had, as ye swear unto her. And the young men that were spies went in and brought out Rahab and her father, and her mother, and her brethren, and all that she had, and they brought out all her kindred, and left them without the camp of Israel. And they burnt the city with fire, and all that was therein. Only the silver and the gold and the vessels of brass and of iron they put into the treasury of the house of the Lord. And Joshua saved Rahab the harlot, the prostitute, alive, and her father's household, and all that she had. And she dwelt in Israel even unto this day, because she hid the messengers which Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. So we got a prostitute that saved not only her life, but the life of her father and all of her brothers and all of her kinfolk. Saved their lives. A prostitute, that same prostitute that in the year 2022, somebody might see walking down the street and shoot with a paintball. That same prostitute. You never know where your blessings are going to come from. The same prostitute that was looking out for her father and her brother and her sister. The same prostitute that today might be out there walking on Chef Highway doing the same thing, trying to look out for her brothers, sisters, relatives. That same prostitute. God can use all of us. We ain't got to be what somebody calls squeaky clean. We ain't got to be somebody that lives in a church house. We ain't got to be somebody that's all day long, all night long, praying and singing praises and blessings. We ain't got to be all of that. We can be, God can use and has used someone that some folks would call lowly, a prostitute. And that prostitute was saved. Why? Because she what? She had faith. She had faith that God is indeed Almighty. You know, the scripture said, if you have but the faith of one of mustard seed, well, I'm gonna do it one better. If you have but the faith of a prostitute, understand what I'm saying? If you have but the faith of a prostitute, you know that God what? God is indeed Almighty. Until we meet again here next week on the message, may God Almighty bless you and yours